All right, let's talk about one of the biggest names in tech, Amazon Web Services, or AWS for short. You've probably heard the term the cloud thrown around a lot, right? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and see what it's really all about. But let me just start with a question for you. What if you could tap into a massive global network of supercomputers right now from the very machine you're on? Sounds like something out of a movie, doesn't it? Well, it's not. That's pretty much the core idea behind AWS, and we're going to unpack exactly how that works. Okay, so let's get right to it. The big question, what is AWS, really? We're going to take this kind of fuzzy, abstract idea of the cloud and make it feel totally real for you. So in a nutshell, AWS is this gigantic cloud platform. Think of it like a menu with over 200 different tech services you can choose from. And all of these services are running in these huge data centers scattered all across the globe. I mean, this is the engine that powers a massive chunk of the internet you use every day. We're talking everything from tiny startups to absolute giants like Netflix, the company that streams movies to millions of us all at the same time. Yep, AWS helps make that happen.
And this is the real game changer, the key idea that just flips everything on its head. Imagine this. Instead of forking out tons of cash to buy your own physical servers, setting them up, maintaining them, all that headache, you just rent the exact computing power you need from Amazon. It's a pay-as-you-go model that completely changed how companies and developers get stuff done.
Now, these services generally fall into three buckets. First up, you've got IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service. This is like renting the raw building blocks, things like virtual computers, which AWS calls EC2. Then there's PaaS, Platform as a Service. This gives you a whole environment that's all set up for you to build and run your applications. And finally, you have SaaS, Software as a Service. These are the apps that are just ready to go right out of the box, like WorkDocs. So where did this whole thing even come from? I mean, how did AWS become this massive tech giant? Well, to get that, we've got to jump in the time machine and take a quick look at its origin story. Believe it or not, it all started inside Amazon way back in 2003. They were just trying to figure out a better, more scalable way to run their own huge website, Amazon.com. So by 2004, they launched their first little public service. But the real big bang moment, that was 2006. That's when they released S3 for storing files and EC2 for raw computing power. And that was the real birth of the cloud as we know it today. And from just those couple of starting services, boom, it just exploded. Fast forward to today, and AWS offers more than 200 fully featured services. It's just incredible. That kind of growth really tells you how huge the appetite for this cloud stuff has become. All right, so we've covered the what and the why of AWS. Now it's time for the how. Let's get you involved. In this next part, we're going to walk you through setting up your very own account. Because honestly, the absolute best way to learn this stuff is to just dive in and do it. And don't worry, the whole process is super simple. You just pop over to the AWS website, plug in your email and some contact info, and then you'll add a credit or debit card for verification. And hold on, don't panic. We'll talk about that card in just a second. They'll send a quick code to your phone to make sure you're you, and then you just pick the basic support free plan. That's it. You're in. Okay, let's talk about that credit card, because I know that's the part that makes people nervous. It's really just to verify you're a real person. The great news is your new account automatically comes with something called the free tier. This gives you a certain amount of a bunch of different services totally free for your first year. You literally won't be charged a single penny unless you go way over those free limits. And hey, you can even set up things called billing alarms that will send you an email if you ever start getting close. All right, so your account is made, you're logged in, you're ready to start exploring all this cool stuff. But stop. Seriously. Before you click on anything else, we have to talk about the single most critical, most important first step you need to take. Because when you're working in the cloud, security is everything. It has to come first. I'm not kidding. Pause everything. The moment you log in for that very first time, your hands are off the keyboard until you've done this one thing. And that one thing is setting up multi-factor authentication. You've probably heard of it, MFA. All it means is you're adding a second layer of protection. So instead of just a password to log in, you'll also need a special temporary code that you get from an app on your phone. It's simple, but it makes it so much harder for a bad guy to get into your account. So why am I making such a big deal about this? Because the very first user you create when you sign up, that's called the root user. And you need to understand the root user has unlimited, godlike power over your account. It can do anything, delete everything, change every setting, spin up 1,000 expensive servers, and run up a massive bill. Protecting this root user with MFA isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely 100% non-negotiable. And there you go. Now you know what AWS is, you know its origin story, and you know how to create your own account, and most importantly, how to secure it right from the start. You've basically just been handed the keys to a global supercomputer. So the only question left is, what are you going to build with it?